So today we're going to be doing something slightly different. I've had quite a few requests recently from people asking me to do some sort of how to rally tune or how to rally race video. Instead of making a video on just how to rally race, we will be looking at some of my best practices when it comes to rally tuning and how to do it effectively. Before we get into the details, I just want to thank you all for being here and for supporting my channel. We are nearly at 3,000 subscribers and I really want to hit 10,000 by the end of 2020. So if you would, please be sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. Alright, so the car we're going to be using is the 1983 Audi Sport Quattro wearing the 1985 Monte Carlo paint. This car was painted by PTG MFU82 and is available for download now. This paint is spot on, so if you want a perfect replica rally paint for yours, which if you will be rallying it, you'll need a replica rally paint, go download it today. Most of you pretty much know the history on the Audi Sport Quattro in the WRC and Group B, so we won't get into that. On screen now, you will see all of my upgrades to this A-Class build. It has the stock transmission. All of my desired aero bits are installed to give it that rally look. Also, notice how there is no Forza aero. It's not necessary in these lower class rally builds. We will tune in grip later. I installed the rally tire compound, wider rear tires, but I passed on the wider front tires due to how much PI they eat up. Stock wheels and maxed out the front and rear tire track width. That gives the car a wider stance and provides the car more stability on all surfaces. The drivetrain bits installed are the maxed out clutch, transmission, and differential. I left the driveline stock as I wanted to use more PI for more power. Now in the handling department, I maxed out the brakes. I added rally suspension, of course. I maxed out the front and rear anti-roll bars, which is always something you want to do on your builds, especially rally cars. I did leave the roll cage and weight reduction as is, though on this particular car it wouldn't be a bad idea to lower the weight as much as possible as it is a pig. Now on to the power, baby! Since I wanted to keep this an A-Class build with a max PI of 800, we aren't really going to be able to add a lot of components. So what you want to do here is use the components that do a couple things simultaneously. They should give you the most power possible while lowering weight and using the least amount of PI. That's the goal. There are typically a number of different variables, but here's what I settled on. I always upgrade the turbos. Here, I have it maxed out. Next, the camshaft will be another one to raise the PI and horsepower a lot. I have it maxed as well. Exhaust is a good one that actually lowers weight and provides power. It does use a good bit of PI, but it's worth it when all things considered. I maxed out the displacement by upgrading to a race engine block, as well as upgrading to race pistons. These two things lower weight and provide a good horsepower boost, so if you can use them, it is a great upgrade. At this point, I was 1 or 2 PI away from maxing out, so I simply threw the race flywheel on to shed another few pounds. As I said, this car is a pig, so any little weight loss counts in a big way. Alright, so these are all of the upgrades added to the car. As you can see, that puts us at 500 brake horsepower with 369 foot-pounds of torque, and a wet 2,780 pounds. Not too damn bad for an A-Class rally car. Now that we have our upgrades fitted, let's go see how it handles out of the gate, and then we will make some tuning adjustments. Alright, so right out of the gate, the car feels pretty soft, top heavy, and it loses grip in corners. But no fear, we will take care of all of that. First thing is first, in order to tune your car effectively, you must be able to read your live telemetry. So in order to do that, we need to map the telemetry button if you haven't already done so. Get there by pausing, go to the settings, then control settings, and then simply choose which button you want to map for your telemetry. Mine is mapped to the D-pad down button. You can put yours wherever you want. Now, when I go tune a rally car, I personally prefer to tune on the roads on the map that are mud. I have found that if I can get the car to turn in and grip there, it will turn in and grip on any rally road on the map. So, as you see here, I have found a muddy road that has lots of twists and turns, as well as some elevation change. What I do first, before anything else, is simply adjust my tire pressure down to 20 psi, no matter what the car or what surface I'm driving. It just seems to be the good PSI for me. After that, I go to the alignment tab and I adjust the toe to 0.1 degrees out and the caster angle to 6 degrees. I do this on all of my cars. From there, I go to brake pressure. I prefer my brake pressure set at 150% on all of my cars. I don't use ABS, so that helps the car stop faster without too much accidental locking under braking. After brakes, I always adjust the differential. We will do a quick adjustment pre-driving. Front acceleration, I lower to 40% here. Rear deceleration down to 20%. And then I'm going to adjust the balance to a 70% rear bias. The reason I'm adjusting more to the rear is because the car is very heavy and struggles a bit on turn-in from what I've felt during my first drive. These may change as we go, but this is where I always start. From there, I simply drive the car around and make adjustments as I go. I like to start by tweaking the suspension. It feels super mushy and has a lot of body roll right now, so I will go in and adjust my anti-roll bars, spring stiffness, as well as the ride height. These are just the basic tune settings that I will go with for now. We will need to look at the tire contact patch as well as how the car feels suspension-wise with those small tweaks now. Now what we want to do is go into telemetry while driving. What you want to do is cycle 5 times to the right to show the tire temps. Remember, we are on mud here, so they will be much cooler than on any other surface outside of the snow. Now, while driving in a straight line, I like to get the inner and outer parts of the tires within 2 to 3 degrees of each other on the mud surface. Ideally, you want the inner part of the tire to remain slightly warmer than the outer part of the tire. When the outer part of the tire has higher temps, you lose grip because the game is simulating the tire rolling over on itself, and that would cause it to break traction. What you want to do now is look how far off your front and rear tires are. In this instance, it looks like the outer part of the front and rear tires are slightly warmer. So, we need to adjust the camber a bit to counter this. As I said, we want the inner part of the tire to be warmer than the outside part. But we have to remember this is mud, so the game is simulating that surface. When you turn in on mud, the tire digs in more, causing the outer part of the tire to heat up. So what I want to see here is a maximum of a 2 degrees warmer on the outer part of the tire under hard cornering. So with a 3 or 4 degree difference, I'm going to do a quick adjustment of negative camber in the front of 0.7 degrees and 0.5 degrees in the rear. Adjusting your camber to the negative brings the inside of the top of your tire closer together. Remember, I have the rear ARBs set a little stiffer than the front. That's why there's a difference in camber from front to rear. That puts our camber to negative 1.2 degrees in the front and negative 1 in the rear. Let's test that. So as you can see, we are still a bit warm on the outer bit of the tire. Now we can adjust it slightly and then move on to a different surface for the final tweak. As you can see, I did adjust a bit more negative camber in the front, putting it at minus 1.6 degrees, and slightly more to the rear, putting it at minus 1.5 degrees. I think that should be okay. So now after all that mud testing, I head over to the mountains and throw the car around the dirt and gravel roads where there is more grip and the tires can get warmed up a bit more. So you can see here from the telemetry, the inner part of the tire is staying a little bit warmer than the outside, which is a good thing. Normally, I would need to adjust just a little bit more, but we sort of hit the nail on the head here. That's not typical. Generally, if you can keep the inside part of your tire 5 degrees warmer than the outside in heavy cornering, you will have good grip in your rally car. Some cars, this may take some more tweaking, but generally, this is the rule of thumb for me. Now, please remember, if you make any other type of suspension adjustments to the car from here, for example, adjusting ride height, spring stiffness, etc., you will need to revisit the camber to make sure you are still within that 5 degrees. Mostly, I tend to keep the temperature between 1 degree and 10 degrees between the inner and outer, with the inner always being warmer than the outer. After the suspension and camber tuning, I go into the gearing. Now, gearing is purely preference tuning, but for this car you can see it is a massive turd off the line due to massive turbo lag. So, what I will do here is start by adjusting my final drive to acceleration. I like to move my cursor about 10 bips at a time to start. Ideally, you want to see your 0 to 60 time get lower and lower. When you see it get higher, you'll want to adjust the opposite direction. For this example, we'll set it at a 4:10 gear ratio. That will give us a nice acceleration out of the corner. Now here is where the tuning just sort of sucks. There is no right or wrong way to do it. You just have to drive the car. From a dead stop, you'll accelerate through first gear. If you feel it's topping out too quickly or really bogged down, adjust it accordingly. There's a balance here. From there, you simply do the same thing with the rest of the gears. Remember, when tuning for rally, the idea is to be the fastest through and out of a corner. Top speed is not key here. Grip and acceleration will get you the wins. I know I didn't really touch on damping. To be honest, when I'm tuning a rally car, I tend to keep the settings as they are with the stock suspension and rally suspension. I've never needed to adjust them. I always do my grip and handling tuning in the alignment, anti-roll bars, and springs. If you have aero bits installed, you can use that as well for tuning. So that's pretty much it. The more you play around in the telemetry screen, the more comfortable you will get with making adjustments. If you guys have any specific questions to tuning, please feel free to let me know them in the comments section below. Hopefully I've provided some good insight for you, and I hope it helps for your next build. Please remember to leave the video a like, a positive comment, and of course if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more weekly Forza content like this. Thanks so much for watching. I am Connor Speed 6. Much love, everyone. See you soon.